Hello, hi, welcome to this video. I'm going to talk about my personal curriculum for the next few months. And to be fair, this is not so much a personal curriculum as it is just a list of nonfiction books that I hope to get around to in the upcoming months. I've always been a primarily fantasy reader, so I usually read fiction books. I've been growing my nonfiction collection a little bit, but to be fair, I've been buying them at a speed that is greater than the speed at which I've been reading these books. So I thought that I would like to be a little more intentional with scheduling these reads because these are all books that I want to read, I want to learn, I want to understand, I want to grow. But I do need to schedule that into my schedule, my day to day to do lists, just so that I can be a little bit more intentional and actively read these books. So one day I'm gonna go through all my nonfiction books that I own that I want to read, like my nonfiction TBR in general. But today I'm going to go through some of the nonfiction books, some of which I have kind of picked up and may or may not have been reading, and some of which that I actively do want to read within the next couple of months or so. So the first couple of books that I'm going to talk about are books that I did start, but I haven't finished yet. Okay. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Atomic Habits. And the book is messing with the brightness. Okay. So I'm going to put a picture of the book here. I tried to pick up this book a couple of years ago and I got about 30 pages into the book and then just didn't pick it up for a couple of years again. And so then I finally marked it as DNF. Then I picked it up again last year and I got 90 pages into it. Last time that I picked it up, like last year, I was very intentional. I was making notes and everything, but I don't even remember what happened. Oh, right. I had a personal medical thing happen and then I completely forgot that I was even reading this book. Actually found this a couple of days ago while reorganizing some stuff and remembered that I was supposed to be reading this. I had marked down all the chapter breakdowns with these tabs so that I would set a target and then achieve that target. And for a while it was working up until that medical thing flare up issue. So I think I'm gonna continue reading Atomic Habits. It happened again. This is why I was not getting the book into frame. Hold on. The second book is again another book that I have been reading, and it is also another book that I have DNF'd before, and it is Will I Ever Be Good Enough? So this is a book about dealing with narcissism in your life, a very specific kind of narcissism, if you know, you know. Um, and actually, the reason that I haven't finished this book, I am about 150 out of 200 pages into this book, is because it requires you to do a lot of work on yourself, like internal work and personal growth and all of that, which is not always easy. So I have actively been doing the work and I haven't picked this book up again in almost a month at this point. The last time I picked this up was in 2025, like December to be fair. But it's a slow book to be sure because it requires you to deal with some harsh realities about yourself and the things that you hope and want in your life and the things that you can realistically get in certain relationships. So it is like a good book. I think in India, almost every child has to deal with some narcissistic relationships that shape them when they're kids. So I also picked it up for a very similar reason, but this book actively says in a certain chapter, which is the last chapter that I read, that you need to come to terms with some stuff. And until and unless you do that, you shouldn't continue reading this. And so, yeah, I'm trying to come to terms with some stuff with this one. The next book that I want to pick up is Tiny Experiments, which I just got at the book fair. I got this on an impulse, not going to lie, but I have been seeing stuff about setting experiments instead of goals, and I really want to learn more about that. And the reason I got this is because this is from, I think, a neuroscientist. So let me just read you guys the blurb. Life isn't rigid or predictable, so why should your goals be? We're told productivity is all about single minded focus, hard grind, and big goals. Deviating from the linear path means failure. Distraction is the enemy. The problem is, it's not true. In this transformative book, neuroscientist and entrepreneur Anne-Laure Lecomf, so sorry, reveals the joyful, proven method to achieving our ambitions, an experimental mindset. Ditching outdated models for success, she demonstrates the power of tiny experiments in which goals are discovered, pursued, and adapted on your own terms. Rooted in science and real life stories, this guide is packed with tools to help you break free from limiting beliefs, turn doubt into discovery, and harness imperfection. Learn to apply your curiosity and build an authentic, ambitious, and meaningful life in this ever changing world. I think that learning about this from an actual scientist who's done actual research on the topic would be really, really cool. And it kind of takes away that doubt that I'd have in my mind if I was just on YouTube trying to watch every single video on the topic and then questioning the source and everything. Like, you should question your sources even when you're reading a book, but I was kind of sold when I heard neuroscientist. So I'm just gonna read it and then I'm gonna form an opinion about it. I am talking about the books that I want to read, and because these are non-fiction, I can't actually give you a better idea of what's in these books. Like the first couple of books that I talked about, I knew what they're about because I have kind of been reading or trying to read them actively. But these three, like with Tiny Experiments and the other remaining books, I am just giving you my impression of what I think that these books have to offer and like what I am reading them for, and if and when I actually finish them, I can tell you what they were actually about and what my perceptions are. So the next book that I want to read is Storyworthy. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer. Honestly, I would still love to be an author. I've just lost all my spark. But to be fair, like the burnout from corporate and dealing with a host of issues such as that have kind of left me not that creative anymore. And these last few books are kind of sort of to address that thing, because Storyworthy is a book about how you can make things story worthy, how you can like learn storytelling. Basically, it says engage, teach, persuade, and change your life through the power of storytelling. And I have my own sense of style of how I talk and how I deliver things and how I phrase them, but why not learn a little bit about this thing that I've been obsessed with since I was a kid? You know, this is a really big blurb, so I'm going to read like some parts of it, okay? Personal story worthy. Realize your creative dreams starting today. Are you good at dreaming about what you're going to accomplish someday, but not good at finding the time and getting started? How will you actually make that decision and do it? The answer is in this book, which offers proven, practical, and simple ways to turn random minutes throughout your days into pockets of productivity and dreams into accomplishments. Each strategy is accompanied by amusing and inspiring personal and professional anecdotes and a clear plan of action. Someday is today will give you every tool to get started and finish that. Why does it have the name of a different book on the back? Did I end up with a pirated copy again? Oh my god. I hate this. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to look up whether Some Days Today is an alternate title for Storyworthy, or if I have received a pirated copy of the book and the blurb on the back is from a completely different book. Great. Okay, and now onto the final book in this list. Technically, I did try to start this book, but I only got one chapter into it, and that was barely anything. And I don't remember what I started, but the final book that I hope to read in the upcoming few months is The Artist's Way, which is the classic course in discovering and recovering your creative self, a spiritual path to higher creativity. And the author of this book has been dubbed as the Queen of Change by the New York Times. The multi-million copy worldwide bestseller. Since its first publication, The Artist's Way has inspired millions of people to demystify the creative process and open up opportunities for growth and renewal. Julia Cameron's tools will help you rediscover your passions and take the steps you need to change your life. 3 times in the last decade, I've committed to doing the Artist's Way program, And each time I've learned something important and surprising about myself and my work. Without the artist's way, there would be no Eat, Pray, Love. This is from Elizabeth Gilbert. And we've got like a couple more quotes from like Kerry Washington and Russell Brand. This book is sort of like a guide or like a workbook that you go through. You read about a few things and it gives you like some guidance and things to try and things to do, including the morning pages that almost everyone and their grandmother knows about. Um, and you do these exercises to sort of get back that creative spark, which I honestly have been missing in my life for a while now. Like I've had to be this person who was working 14 to 16 to even 18-hour work days nonstop, like for months and months and years, honestly. And that left me with no time to even myself, let alone all of my creative hobbies. And now that I do have the time, like even though I do technically have the time, I'm just not able to find my way back into that creative headspace. And for someone like me, it leaves me feeling like very unfulfilled. And I don't even realize it unless I actively like sit and think about, hey, why am I feeling this way? And then I remember that actually my calling is doing something, making something, building something. And those are the things that I really enjoy. And those are the things where I feel the most like myself. But I'm just not able to do those things and find myself back in that headspace. And so why not like try to get a little bit of help? And I've also got the Artist's Way companion journal, which is huge. See, um and it's like an empty workbook, and it's got, hold on, so this is like an empty workbook, and it's got the prompts on the pages key. This is the exercise on this page number, and you can use this particular page to fill it up, which I do think I could have used just a notebook, but I didn't know at the time of getting this book that this was like just an empty notebook basically. But yeah, it'll be a good like, first of all, with the journal I would then have pages left over and then I would feel guilty about leaving a half used journal. But with this I'll have a whole workbook dedicated to my first experience reading this book. So I think that that's going to be really cool. And also just having the prompts already written out takes away the effort of me having to write them. So it takes like, helps you with that mental block. Like it's one thing to want to start a gratitude journal, but because then you think, oh, I have to select a notebook and then I have to date that notebook every single day and then I have to write in it every single day. And instead sometimes like you can get a pre-created, pre-printed gratitude journal which just says date and today I'm grateful for 1 2 3. But it just makes it easier for you. Sometimes you're just in a rut. Like I know that that's wasteful and I know that I might call this wasteful at some point in my life, but right now I think that this is going to be really really helpful and I'm so glad I got it. And this, so yeah, these are some of the nonfiction books that I'm hoping to be making my way through in the upcoming few months. Please feel free to hold me accountable because someone should. And I'll try to do check ins to talk about my nonfiction reading progress. And I will be going through like my entire bookshelf. So I mentioned this in another video that I'm going to be rearranging my entire bookshelf. First of all, it's overflowing. These are the books that I got from the book fair and I just couldn't find a place to put them, so had to stack them up like this. And secondly, I've got this rainbow shelf thing going up top. It's gorgeous, it's lovely, but it's just not working for me functionally anymore. I want to organize these books by series because I am reading the Percy Jackson series. I'm on the final book. You can see the gap right here. This is where the last Olympian was shelved up until last night. So while I was reading the Percy Jackson books, I was pretty annoyed because I started like here, then I went there, there also, and finally here. So it has been really illogical for me to try to read my favorite series because they were all shelved out of order and very very randomly. And now that I've got the Heroes of Olympus series in the very same exact editions, I would like to have all of them together, and so I'm going to do that. So before I do that, I'm gonna do a bookshelf tour where I take you through all the books that I own and where they have been shelved as of now. Um, to kind of document it for myself and also to show you guys in case that's something that you find cool and or inspirational for your own bookshelves. So when I do that, I take you through all the non-fiction books I own separately in case you're a very non-fiction-y person. And yeah, that's gonna be cool. And this is it. This was my short little video about my non-fiction books that I want to read, my personal curriculum, if you want to call it that. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cool. Bye bye.